to Sam, and this would be on comprehensive DD, and very much focus on financial due diligence for the time being, and then the legal due diligence would then be when net comes. Then you can continue asking questions, and then we'll end off with running the business and the exit scenario, of which Sherry has touched on a little bit earlier just now. So comprehensive due diligence. So this is post LOI from the Thailand perspective, right? You really need to get to the weeds of the business, but you have 3 months. The 3 months you have access to the data as much as the sellers have already provided to you. Who do you need to work with? Some of the professionals to actually go in deep into finding out some of the key risk mitigation and some of the assumptions that you want to drive at, right? And making a good enough informed decision of whether you want to proceed or not, and at what price for it. So how we do it? I think a lot of people have different ways and different approaches. Some parallel, some in phases. So this is something that we do in general. So phase 1, initial business due diligence. Once you've gotten enough to a certain level, then you bring in your third party, folks like Sam who can help with financial due diligence, folks like Nat who can help with legal due diligence, or whoever you are comfortable working with. And obviously you need to be comfortable with the things that are being surfaced as well. And then last, but also in parallel, like once you whatever you find out here at the initial stage, how then does that affect you from a documentation point of view? Work with your lawyers, understand some of the legalese that's being written there. What would be that impact, right? Very important, like what Sherry said, like how does the sale and purchase agreement have some of the clauses that then would mitigate some of the risks that you have found out from there. Okay. So a couple of things, happy to dive deeper a little bit with Sam also, kind of like the quality of earnings, right? Deep dive. Some of the things in the books are somewhat not obvious. So when they said they have $1 million in their data, is it really $1 million? Right? So when you look at it, you could see that, especially in small businesses, a lot of the life of the owner is intertwined with their business. So how do you isolate that is also a science art in theory. So the one that's super clear and a little bit easier to kind of like pull out is how much is he or she paying himself or herself. Right? Then you want to kind of like readjust that back here, right? So you need to also then hire yourself as the CEO and pay yourself money. So instead of $1 million, then you need to minus your own however much you want to pay yourself. Or to your point, you want to hire somebody, right? Then you kind of like need to adjust this to the level that you want. Very common here, Malaysia or whatever, they are sitting within a property that they own or owned by their family or somewhat related or friends, so and so forth. What this means is that some of the rent that they are paying either is extremely low or nothing at all. So then you need to kind of like mark to market what that rent should be, right? And it's not difficult to get such numbers. So this is just kind of like one example. And then kind of like look at this also kind of like one-time gain. So always remember when somebody is trying to sell you a business, it's typically at a peak. So it means that things have been quote unquote bloated, be believe it or not. And then how do you then read into the patterns of why this year is really good, right? So is it a one-time, one-off revenue recognition? Work with your accounting firms, accounting advisors if this is something that is actually outside of a realm that you are not familiar with in terms of how these numbers are being recognized. Especially those that are doing project-based businesses as well. Some of their front-load revenue or back-load revenue, then it kind of like gives you a muddy sense of how actually the business is doing. Right, just giving you a couple of examples there. I think the list is really endless. So from about $1 million, just using this as an example, then now actually down to closer to $500,000. Right, from there, okay, this guy is actually asking for $3 million, the 3 times of earnings, seems very reasonable. But then once you adjust all this, now it becomes super expensive. And so for these adjustments, it's something that you need to figure out, and again, a point of negotiation back with the owner and leverage for you. Okay. Questions? Okay, reflects some of things, again, not exhaustive list, but kind of like give you an example of what are things that you should look out for. Customer concentration risk, 25 to 30% for one client, just one client is way too high. So just figure out like, what you want to do with that. Different people, different strokes. Right, so relationship is often personal in Southeast Asia, in SME specifically. Contracts are typically missing. Right? A lot of them say, oh, because they've been with us for 20, 30 years, and they've been continuing with us, therefore there's no need for a legal document up until there's a change of owner. Then suddenly everything different. Somebody mentioned about litigation as well. Very important. So understand whether there's any lawsuits that's ongoing, any legal action, whether even it has already materialized. Those that have a bit more process, not what's this, invention driven, so IP protection gaps as well. I think that should be very important. From an operations point of view, owner dependency, a lot of the processes, SMEs that we are talking to only exist in the founder's head or the C-1s. So how do you pull that out for your own risk mitigation? Employee issues, again, there are some that missing employment contract, so make sure that you work with your lawyers to understand some of the key terms there, and just looking through the employment contracts, minimally your key stuff. Last one here, sometimes searchers miss this out as well. Your equipment that is actually critical to running the business have not been maintained well or needs replacement within a certain time. Have not been replaced because there's no motivation from the current seller to replace. So think about it and how does that actually affect the price point that you want to negotiate.
Eric, one question.
Yeah, one there.
So at any point of time, you are not looking into the scalability part of the business?
Yes, but I think these are just examples of like main red flags. Yeah, but scalability is definitely something that we need to look at on two fronts, right? One is that you don't want to just maintain the business as is today, right? You want to enter into it and figure out like how you want to grow it 2, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road. What we do also, we think about who are we potentially able to sell it to and at what scale, right? So today, if I can double, triple the business, what are the typical business, the buyers of those businesses? Absolutely something that we look at, but we look at that more of growth opportunities rather than red flags, if I may, in that perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was wondering regarding the litigations. I mean, ongoing litigations, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
That should come up in the due diligence, hopefully.
We hope, yeah, exactly, yeah.
But I mean, legal risks and litigation risks in general, is there a chance to have clauses in the contract to basically mitigate the risk or lower the risk?
There are some things that you can do like warrants and representations, right? That within the sale purchase agreement that you could build into those things. But to me, I always see that legality is always the last port of call. If you really reach that point and you need to drag people to court, I think it's way too late already, wasting everybody's time. So if you can already like figure out and identify risk and have an assessment on your part, is this something that I can absorb in lieu of legality? I think the decision should be made on that front. Where the legal side is just kind of like really just like hard stop get measure for you. At least that's how I think. Yeah. Any more questions?
So
Please, also, yeah.
so that would also be a reason to kind of, this is the wrong word, why you as a buyer would want an earn-out to have more grip on the seller, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
if he doesn't make things transparent during the selling process that you always have to.
Earn-out gives you leverage. Exactly that. Yeah. So that's kind of like the motivation. And get a 20%, 30% of what you need to pay. That's massive negotiation leverage. Yeah. Just a very simple exercise. I think we begin kind of like just recapping some of the concepts here. Just about 3 of them. Read quickly. Kind of like what you see, just call it out, and then we'll just go on, right? So, target company's founder mentioned largest client account for 40%. What would you do? Speaking that it's his old school friend, never had a formal contract, always worked, never need. Right? Again, just an illustration. We show what we're sharing. Anybody? Like what's the red flag? What would you do? Yeah.
Yes, the red flag is that there's a lot of the guy might leave. I would reprice it.
Actually, anybody else?
40% on single person. Okay.
Yeah.
And also that is also no contract.
Yeah. There's no contract ones always very cheeky. So
But is it fair to say, okay, this is the issue, and before we continue, you kind of like part of the earnout or whatever, like you make sure that you're all friends, that we contractualize everything, moving on. Is that something that you should do probably more earlier than later, right?
So there's a concept of condition precedence within the sales purchase agreement that you, in order for this thing to consummate itself, these things have to happen first, and you could absolutely put things like that inside. I need to make sure that this contract is signed before I give you back the money. I give you the money. Yeah. So absolutely. So yeah, just an illustration, customer concentration. Some of it, if it's 40% one client, super risky. So you need to know what is the nature of the risk there. Critical contract issues, no written agreement, owner dependency. Right? So a couple of things that you can do: formalize a 2-year contract with this client, using as a condition precedent, right? Before the LOI moves to a sale and purchase agreement. You can also tie an out right, from that. Right, and yeah, viewers, absolutely, thank you. Next one, quick one. Yeah. During site visit, notice key machines are old, maintenance logbook, no entries, 18 months. Right, so they run fine, knows how to handle them, kind of like tacit knowledge, travel knowledge. So yeah, around the room, what do you see? What would you do? Yeah.
So dependency on, I mean to say, the knowledge. If the people are leaving, then basically that is the knowledge gone.
Yeah. Absolutely. So how do you tie them down? Right? Yeah, and also to extract out the information from them, even if they stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is it possible, okay, let's say that there's another fact that eats into my capex, like let's say that the machine, can I then reprice?
Yeah, absolutely. So in order for you to run effectively after you buy, it's something that is a negotiation point. Absolutely. Yeah.
I guess you can also draft processes if it's in people's head.
Yeah.
Get them to draft it as part of the CPE.
Absolutely. So just very quick one. So seller Thursdays, as all you guys pointed out, no maintenance means ETA March, right? So budget for breakdowns before they happen. Order dependency, so you actually document them or reprice. So commission, what you could do, especially if it's critical, and there are quite a lot number of independent equipment assessment firms out there. Just get them come in, pay them a bit, get them get a proper pricing of what you need to replace. Use the findings to negotiate the price reduction, right? Equal to this, and maybe a bit of OPEX cost to begin with, and document out the operating procedures. One last one before we go to our friend. Financial source consistent growing profits. Discovered the main trust, rented the business 50% below market. And then there's a lot. 5 years. Any more? Sorry.
I think probably we price, but you know, we price in ETA as the market rate.
Yeah. No? Good. Good one. Yeah. Absolutely, we price because artificially inflates EBITDA, okay, so you need to restate that. So that's hidden operational costs, and 5 years nothing, create a future cliff. Like after the 6th year, suddenly everything is goes with it. So you restate the EBITDA to what you think is right, to the state of the market as if today. And show it out as that's your overview. Alright, so maybe I think in the interest of time we're just going to skip this first and maybe I can get Sam to join us on our friend. I don't know.
Sorry? Yeah, they were good actually.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much for this.
Okay, thanks for coming. Thanks for
No
joining us.
problem.